to central New York. As you can see, it's almost springtime here, so I got to get started on making my wife some Adirondack chairs. The chair is made from 5 1x6 by 8s. The nice part is you're going to start by making 17 cuts at 23.5 inches. So I like to set up a stop and then get cutting. The next cut is at 10 degrees. Cut one end at 10, slide it down, and you're going to go exactly 22 inches and cut again. You're going to need 2 of those. Take one of those pieces that's 23.5 inches, mark it at 6.5 inches. Now, you're going to use that scrap piece that you had from before, and if you have a square, put it in there, line it up to the back of that. This is the back of your seat leg here. I like to clamp it up. 3 holes and 3/4 inch by 2 inch carriage bolts. And these are just going to be hand tightened. This next section is probably the hardest. And I like to use a template, but I wanted to show everyone how to do it without a template because it's hard to build a template before you've built your first chair. So I'm just kind of holding stuff there. I want the bottoms to be level on my piece there. I temporarily clamp it. Now here's the part where it gets interesting. You have to have a board length space in front there so you can put your front plate on of the chair. So because I only had 2 hands, this takes a little bit of trickery. And you want to make sure everything's lined up and flat across the bottom so your chair sits as level as possible. Once you've done that, clamp it up. 3 more holes, 3 more carriage bolts, and then you're going to want to tighten the whole thing up. And I like to use a ratchet. When you build your second one, make sure it's opposite, meaning that the cross piece needs to be on the inside because this is what holds your seat in place. I like to put the 2 sides on the ground, and this is the front that is facing up. I put a front piece across the front, and then I just put another one in the back as a spacer. 3 screws, and I'll show you the link below for those, are put in the front and into your piece that you would cut at 10 degrees. Stand it up, and that piece that was the spacer goes right across the back. Now another piece that's also 23.5 inches long goes across the back. This is going to be your seat back support. 3 screws on each side there also. This is the piece that probably breaks the most once people have sat on it. Probably because they're too heavy like me. Now this is another tricky part. You got your first seat slat in there. And I like to put a piece to represent the way the back is going to rest on each one. So you put it in there so you can get the proper spacing. Snug up the seat slat. And then 3 screws on each side. The remaining 2 seat slats get put in, and I like to use a carpenter's pencil as my spacer here, but whatever spacer you feel you like is good. Also for the front one in this one, I'm going to round over the front with my router, just because I have a router, and it makes it a little bit nicer when you sit down on it. now that you've finished this part, you've got the basics of a chair. All the rest of this is kind of up to you on how you want to design it. I'm going to show you one basic design. For this, you're going to need to take one of your pieces and rip it down to about 2.5 inches. And you'll need 2 of these pieces. Now set your chop saw to 45 degrees, clip one end, and then the other end you're going to clip at exactly 23 inches. Now I've taken 4 pieces here, and I've set up my 23-inch piece that I just cut, and I'm making it squared, all these pieces. I like to use my square here as the spacer between, but you have to use whatever works for you to get the 23 inches, because 1x6s aren't always the same width. I don't know if I mentioned I'm using pressure treated here. And you're going to put 2 screws in each board. I like to offset them from each other so that we don't split the board down the middle. And you're going to put a bracket across the bottom and the top, giving yourself some room on each end. Now you remember that scrap piece you had from when you were cutting down that 1x6 into 2.5 inches? Well, you're going to need that now. Drill holes in each end. And now I like to use 2 pencils, one at each end, and you set yourself up a little makeshift compass here so you can draw a nice arc across the top. Once you've got the arc, I use a jigsaw to just cut out the top. After cutting the top, I like to sand it a little bit. But really, I just wanted to get a chance to show you my vast collection of clamps there. Yep. Now, for the really exciting part, you're going to cut 2 pieces at 25 inches. I know. There were a lot of 23.5s, but these last 2 are 25s. If you forgot and you made them 23.5, it'll still work. I just like the 25 better. I'm then going to mark halfway down the 25 inches, or about 13 inches or so, and then 2 inches on the side, and I connect those 2 points and cut with my jigsaw again. What you're making here are the armrests. Hey, save that scrap piece, by the way. Now trace and make another one. And we can follow that up with some more sanding and some more pictures of my clamps. What I forgot to record here was that I also used my router to round over all of these arms. It really makes for a nice finish if you round it, and this is one part where you really want to sand the tops of each of your armrests. Now remember those scraps that you cut off? Those are going to be your wings. Now I just picked a random spot on my chop saw and just cut 2 of them to the same size. Hey, see that scrap there? Keep that too.
Because when you save time and money, it's a win-win, no matter who wins the big game. Aldi, shop differently.
Now to put the wings on, you're going to take that scrap that you cut off, the scrap, and put it right about in the middle of your thing there. I like to use a little clamp. Make sure it's square, and 2 screws. You want to do that to the other side. Then for your arm, start in the back. Make sure you line that up all the way flush on the back. And then you're going to use some more screws all the way around. So there you have it, an Adirondack style chair. You can see on this one we have an arched back. I've made a lot of these over the years. Sometimes we've used really wide arms because people like to have big plates and stuff. And we also use a more traditional backing. You can do whatever you want with the back part there. I've seen skis, I've seen all kinds of things used as a back. Whatever you got, make it interesting for yourself. And you see on this one we put the initial of our buyer. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you liked it, you can subscribe to my channel.